right, we should be live and recording. So hope you guys are having a great day so far and a great New Year's. First podcast recorded in 2025, which is crazy to say that it's 2025. Like, I see so many TikToks now or videos on social media about just like things that were 20 years ago, things that were 30 years ago. And it's just so crazy to think like there are very specific moments that happened 20 years ago that I can like pretty vividly remember. And it's just like, 10 years ago wasn't really the case. Like 10 years ago, 2014, I think about 20 years before that, I was a year old at that point. And it's just, I don't know, it's just crazy that a whole nother year has gone by and how fast things go, especially, now having a son. Like, I'm sure everybody who's ever had kids listening to this, you can attest that time just goes by so much faster, like 3 times as faster or 10 times as faster, once you have kids, from just being so busy and living through them and everything. But this is the first official Monday of 2025 as I'm recording this. And now's the time where if you haven't gotten started with your New Year's goals yet, with the first being last Wednesday, you're probably getting started today. So I figured what better time than this week to record an episode on 5 really important reminders to have to remind yourself of, or I'm going to remind you of, if you want to be successful this year with your fitness, fat loss, and weight loss goals. And, I've been coaching clients for the past 8 years, have coached hundreds of clients through multiple transformations. And here are 5 really big things that come up a lot. So we're going to dive in. We're going to talk about it. So number 1 is to give yourself more than enough time to achieve whatever goal you have. Like, if you have a goal, and let's just use weight loss because this is what probably the biggest goal that a lot of people end up having. If you're listening to this, or if you're listening or watching my podcast on YouTube or in the Facebook group, or, if you're just someone on my Facebook page, it's probably like weight loss is probably your goal. And you probably have a specific number in mind that you think you want to get to. Now, sometimes that number is unrealistic. Sometimes that number is way too low for you. Sometimes that number isn't enough. Like, sometimes you have a goal of, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds, and you lose 20 and you realize, hey, I actually maybe started with a little bit more body fat than what I want on my frame, and maybe I need to lose 30. But you probably have some kind of rough range or goal in your head. And I can't stress enough, give yourself more than enough time to achieve that goal. Meaning, if you are telling yourself, hey, like summer's coming up, I want to lose 20 pounds by June. Is that realistic? Absolutely. 20 pounds in 5 months, 5 to 6 months is a pretty realistic timeline. But I want you to come to terms with and be okay with it taking longer. Because I find a couple of things happen. A lot of times people think that if they give themselves a longer timeline, they're going to get complacent and they're not going to push themselves enough because they don't have this strict deadline, almost like this whole like procrastination thing. Like back in college, I was pretty good at pushing back some assignments. I hate to admit, a day or two before the due date, probably a day, depending on, how big the assignment was. Because it gave me that kind of like pressure to like work really hard and get this assignment done and really focus on it in a short period of time. Then I'd get it done, get a decent grade on it, and move on. But weight loss can't happen like that. You can't give yourself this like strict timeline or deadline and then just like try to make up for it, all of the weight loss or all the fat loss that you've been trying to achieve over the past multiple months in a short time frame, because the body doesn't work that way. You might have been able to get away with it in school, high school, college, but you can't get away with that with the physiology of fat loss. It has to be done over a long period of time. So that's one reason, is that like you think having a shorter window is going to make you work harder, but there's only so fast you can actually attempt to lose body fat and actually can lose body fat before you actually crash and burn physically and mentally. So you want to give yourself an adequate enough time, but I recommend giving yourself more than enough time. And so like my kind of general guideline is you can lose about 1 pound of fat for every week of being in a fat loss phase, roughly. Now, give or take, depending on the person. If you're someone who's smaller framed, maybe you're only starting at like 140, 150 pounds. That number is probably closer to like 3/4 of a pound of body fat per week. But if you're somebody a little bit heavier, maybe 250, you might even be able to lose close to 2 pounds of body fat per week, probably a little bit lower. But so the 1 pound of body fat per week isn't a like end all be all, but it's a rough range. So, and that is 1 pound of body fat per week while you're in a fat loss phase. Not necessarily every single week that you're making a lifestyle change, but as you're in a direct fat loss phase. So that's 20 weeks right there, right? If your goal is 20 pounds, think 20 weeks. Now, you're probably going to have some maintenance phases in there, or at least you should. At least 1 or 2 maintenance weeks along the way, right? 20 weeks, 5 months of consistently being in a fat loss phase is too long and you're going to crash and burn. I probably would implement a maintenance phase a couple of weeks long, at least at the 10-week mark. So when you're kind of halfway through. So that's going to take a couple of weeks. If you're completely new to all of this, like if you have not paid attention to your nutrition at all, you don't have a consistent workout routine, you have no idea how many steps you're walking, all this stuff, you need to build that baseline of habits first. And also, if your food intake has been so inconsistent, like some days super high in calories, some days super low, you want to take a few weeks at least. 3 to 4 weeks is usually what I do with my clients to build those habits in place or put those habits in place, while also building your calories up to your maintenance level consistently. And that helps to kind of build your metabolism up a little bit in a simple sense. So that's another 3 to 4 weeks. So now we have about 4 weeks, let's say, added to the 2 weeks of the maintenance break, added to the 20 weeks of actually being in a fat loss phase. And now we're up to, let's say, 26 weeks total as far as the time it's going to take you to lose this roughly 20 pounds. And that's accounting for you being perfect along the way. It's not accounting for other vacations you might have. It's not accounting for you just, not executing as well, because some weeks, we just don't do it. And like it happens. That's not accounting for, other random days where we don't track our food because of celebrations or this and that. So when you add all of those days together, I recommend giving yourself like a time and a half compared to the approximate amount of time you think it would take. So let's say 20 pounds, let's say it's going to take 20 weeks, add about half of that time to it at least, and think, okay, it's going to take me probably 30 weeks to lose the 20 pounds, probably at minimum. Might even take double the amount of time. And that's okay. Like, there's nothing bad about losing 20 pounds taking 30 weeks or taking 40 weeks or even taking an entire year. And the good news is the longer it takes you to lose that weight, the more likely you're going to keep it off. Like I've had clients where they've lost 20 pounds in 4 weeks in the past, not 4 weeks, 4 months in the past, like doing their own kind of crash dieting thing. And they gained it all back. But then those same clients have worked with me, and maybe because of inconsistency issues, maybe because of family trips and this and that, it took them a year to lose 20 pounds, which is still incredible progress. But it took them a year compared to 4 months. It took them 3 times as long as what they, lost it in the past. But we continue to work together and have even stopped working together. And a year later, they've maintained all of that weight loss. And that's because they did it the right way. You gave yourself plenty of time to actually live your life along the way. So you learned how to incorporate that fat loss and that weight loss into your actual life. And also physiologically, like the longer it takes to lose a certain amount of body fat, the more time your body gets to get used to sitting at that body fat level. There's this kind of theory, the body fat set point theory, where when you're sitting at a certain body fat level, your body will kind of get comfortable there and it won't want to, lose any more fat. And if you do lose more fat, it will ramp up its hunger to kind of gain that fat back. But if you can have plenty of maintenance days and plenty of maintenance periods or weeks or maintenance phases sprinkled in there and make that 20-pound weight loss take actually 40 weeks or a year versus just 4 months, it gives your body so many maintenance breaks along the way where it actually can kind of train your body in a sense to maintain that lower body fat level easier. The longer it takes you, the better, as long as you're still losing it at a rate that feels motivating and you feel like you're making progress. Like if you tell yourself, I'm going to lose 20 pounds over the next 5 years, I mean, that's great, but it might be a little bit too slow to actually like get the inspiration and motivation to keep going. So have a goal, a rough goal that you're aiming for. Have a rough timeline, but probably add a time and a half to that, or maybe even double that time frame. So if you don't lose that weight by a certain like shorter deadline, you don't feel disappointed, and also you don't end up doing drastic things just to see the scale reach this mark. I've had clients where in the past they would have like a goal of losing 20 pounds by their birthday, and they were maybe 5 pounds off like 2 weeks away from their birthday. So then they brought their calories down to 1,000 just so they could see the scale hit that extra 5 pounds in those 2 weeks. But then they ended up gaining it back. So when you set these strict deadlines or guidelines, you end up doing some extreme things if you get too attached to them. So give yourself more than enough time to reach your goal. Reminder number 2 is to have a system for tracking your actions. This is such a big one. So many people that clients that I've worked with have tried losing weight in the past, tried losing body fat, and they have no system to look back and see how consistent have you truly been. Like they tell themselves, okay, I'm going to watch what I eat. I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to be more active. I'm going to eat cleaner, or I'm going to eat healthier. But what does that actually mean? Like, how are you measuring those behaviors, and do you have a system to actually reflect back on and see how consistent you've truly been? If not, you need to develop that system. Like with my one-on-one clients, they know exactly what their targets are for calories, protein, their step goal, and how many workouts they're supposed to do each week. Those are the 4 big rocks that we pay attention to. And those get adjusted every week depending on their progress, depending on how well they execute, depending on how their body's adapting. But those are the 4 things that we are measuring. And every single week, I look at their check-in form, and I ask them these questions too. How many days did we hit our calorie range? And I can look at their food log and see that. Look at how many days did you hit your protein range? I can look at their food log and see that. How many days did we hit our minimum step number goal that we were aiming for each day? I can look at that. Every week I can look at how many out of the however many workouts they're aiming for that week did they complete. And with my one-on-one coaching, they have an actual roadmap that I fill out where I look at all this stuff and I give them a percentage or a score, and they get a score that kind of combines their calories, protein, and steps together, where they can say, hey, like you executed those 3 variables with 85% consistency that week. And they actually get that marked with green. So it gives them some positive, feedback of, okay, that's green. That's good. Like I did awesome this week of executing on my variables. And then I also give them a workout score of how many workouts out of what was assigned did they complete. If they completed 4 out of 4, that's 100%. If they completed 3 out of 4, that's 75%, and so on. But all of this stuff is recorded, and I'm recording all this stuff week to week when I look at their check-in. So if, let's say, Sally, after, let's say, a month, hasn't really seen much progress and she's kind of upset with their progress, she can look back at that roadmap, and I can look back at that roadmap and see, okay, how consistent are we really being? And we can look at that and see, our score with calories and protein steps was only at 30%, like pretty much every week this past month. We are only getting in 50% of our workouts in every single week for the past month. Like we need to improve on that, right? So it allows you, when you have a system for tracking these things and being able to reflect back and see how consistent you truly been, it allows you to see the actual objective picture of, am I really doing the tasks each day that I need to do to see progress, versus just you feeling like, I've worked really hard this past month. But if you actually had a system for tracking those things, you would realize you're only executing 50% of the time. And other ways you can kind of measure this stuff is, I know some people have gotten big calendars on their wall, and they have like little boxes for calories, protein, and steps marked in each day of the calendar. And every day that they hit all 3 of those variables, they color it in green or put an X if they missed one of those variables. And then they look at their month and see, I have like 4 X's and 26 green check marks. Like I was really consistent this week. And you can even calculate the percentage of how many days you hit those goals then. But you have to have some system. Too many people like go into their goals just going off of feel. Like, I feel like I'm working hard. I feel like I'm putting in work. I feel like I'm eating healthy. I feel like I'm getting my workouts in. But objectively, like, what are you actually doing? And if you calculate these scores for yourself, like, are you executing at 80 plus or more percent of the time? If not, then like you need to improve on your execution, right? And this gives you so much information too, because if you are executing really well, like 80, 85%, 90%, or even more percent of the time, and you're not seeing progress, then you know the plan needs to change. Whereas if you look at your scores and see, okay, I'm at 30%, 25%, 40%, haven't seen progress over the past month, well, you don't know if the plan actually needs to change. Maybe you just need to be more consistent, and then the plan actually would work. Now, there's some nuance of there of like, if you're so inconsistent, maybe the plan needs to slightly change to make it more doable for you. Like, that's a solid point. But assuming the plan isn't super extreme and it is something that is sustainable overall, then you can look at those scores and see how consistent you've truly been. But you have to have a system for it. Don't go blindly. Don't go by feel. Going by feel is what drives you nuts, and it makes you think, oh, I've been working really hard for a month and I see no progress. But in reality, maybe you're just really not executing as much as what you think. Third reminder is don't fall victim to the quick fixes. This one's kind of self-explanatory, but this time of year especially, there's going to be a lot of quick fix promotion out there of, okay, do this detox, do this cleanse, take this MLM supplement, do this. You're going to shed fat really quickly in the first 10 days, 7 days, whatever. Reminder and remember that you are in this for the long haul. At least probably. Like, some people have actually talked to me and inquired about coaching before, and they're like, hey, I have this vacation in 3 weeks and I just want to lose a bunch of weight for that, and that's all I care about. And honestly, those types of people, I've turned down with working with them because that's just not what I do. Like, if that's what you want to do, there's no judgment there at all. Like, lose, as much weight as possible for a trip coming up, and then that's all you care about. But that's just not who I work with. I work with people who want to really make a long life change. And want to see progress long term. But, if you're somebody in that boat who doesn't care if you gain the weight back after your trip or vacation, like, then that's okay. But you can do the quick fix, I guess. But, if you're somebody who really wants to make long lasting change long term, keep reminding yourself that's what you're in this for. You're not in this for to just see the scale go down temporarily. So make sure all of the decisions you make and the adjustments and the changes you make align with that. Now, things are obviously going to be hard if you're making any type of change, even if it's a small, sustainable change. It's going to maybe feel unsustainable in the beginning because it's different than what you used to do. But if you're getting to those extreme realms of, okay, like I'm doing this like cleanse that's 3 weeks long and that's it, and then I'm going to figure out how to lose more weight after that, not a good route to go, because if it's something that you're doing where it has such a short timeline to do, it's not going to be something you're going to be able to keep up, and then you're not going to know what to do afterwards. And like a lot of people end up doing something like 75 hard, which is like, some people justify it because they're like, oh, I want to do something that's mentally hard and physically hard to really challenge my brain, challenge my discipline. I could kind of see it, but for the everyday person, that kind of way to like kickstart your weight loss is just going to lead to you gaining the weight back. So remember, you're not in this for a quick fix. You're not in this to just see the scale go down temporarily or to just kill yourself for 2 months to try to lose as much weight as possible. Like, you're doing this because you're sick of the way you look or sick of the way you feel, or you're sick of the way you're living, and you want to actually change, your habits long term. Let's see. Let's go to, and this goes to like all of the like, actually no, let me save that for the last point maybe. Fourth reminder is focus on the actions that the person would take that ends up achieving the goal that you want. So instead of like hyper focusing and emphasizing, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds, step on the scale, got to see the scale move, got to see the scale go down, got to see it trend in that direction because my goal is to lose 20 pounds, right? I got to see that go down. Instead of focusing on that and focusing so much on the outcome and the result, focus on the actions that it's going to take to get there. And I want you to really like think ahead in time, think into the future. Think about you, let's say a year from now. And let's say you did achieve that 20, 30 pound, 40 pound weight loss goal. And let's say you did achieve the dream body that you wanted and the dream health. Maybe this is because of health issues and your health is improved. Think about that person 12 months from now and think about who that person is, how they feel, how they act, what they do on a daily basis. Or, think about somebody, if you were to be scrolling on TikTok and you found somebody who lost 40 pounds in a year, think about what habits they probably are doing today after they've lost that weight. They probably go on regular walks. They probably are really mindful of their nutrition. They probably don't eat a lot of processed food. They probably don't eat out that often. They probably cook more meals at home. They probably track their calories and protein to some extent. At least they did. They probably consistently work out 3 to 5 times a week with a consistent schedule, with a routine. They probably emphasize good sleep. They probably go to sleep roughly at the same time each day. They probably are very mindful in terms of just like their emotional regulation and making sure they don't get too stressed out, because that leads to them stress eating in this. They probably focus on personal development and listen to podcasts that challenge their thoughts, their beliefs, challenge their habits. They probably read books about personal development, about how to, grow as a person and believe in themselves and this and that. They probably have all of these habits and that kind of embody who that person is. And I want you to either imagine that person as you a year from now, or imagine this kind of fake person who has lost the weight that you want to lose, and they're telling you all of their habits that they have today versus what they had a year ago. Think about those habits and think about the actions that person likely takes on a daily basis and do those things. So that puts the focus more on the actions you need to take to get to your result versus the focus on the actual result as it goes. Because, your goal, it's probably going to take a while. Like I said, you're looking at maybe 6 months to a year from now, like achieving your goal, and some people even longer. And if you can constantly obsess over the result over and over and over, and what the weight on the scale says over and over and over, you are going to drive yourself nuts. But if every single day you can go to bed at night knowing most of my behaviors aligned with the person that I want to become, then that is reassuring. Regardless of if the scale weight went up and down, if you nailed your workouts, you nailed your steps, you ate mostly whole foods throughout the day, you hit your calorie and protein ranges, you're doing the things that you need to do to build those habits to become that person. So think about the person you need to become and the actions associated with that person versus focusing on just the end result. Because also too, if you focus on the end result so much, these actions are going to feel like a means to an end. You're going to feel like, okay, I'm just doing my workouts and hitting my steps to get to this end goal. Like that's the only reason why I'm doing them. But we can't have that mentality long term. We have to have the mentality of we're doing these actions or doing these things, our steps, our workouts, our nutrition. We're doing it because that's what makes us feel good. That's what makes us be the person we want to be. We have to think about it in that way. And reminder number 5 is, if you're serious about achieving results, don't pinch your pennies when it comes to your health and your progress and ultimately your happiness. I find weight loss goals, fitness goals, that's one area where so many people so easily want to be cheap. And they want to buy the cheapest workout program. They want to buy the cheapest nutrition plan. They want to shop based solely on price when it comes to meal plans or coaching or whatever it is. And you truly get what you pay for with this kind of stuff. And if you are shopping off of price with this and trying to buy the cheapest thing you can buy, you're going to get the cheapest results. And that's just a reality. Now, are there some coaches out there who charge a boatload of money and they're terrible coaches? Yes, there are. But for the most part, if you are spending, a decent amount of change or a chunk of money on coaching, and you consistently stick with it, and this person, has credentials, they are educated, has experience, you can see multiple transformations from these people, you're probably going to get decent results. So think about that when you're trying to pinch pennies, trying to buy the cheapest 30-day challenge, or, oh, like this coach is a few $100s a month, but then this program where, I get these supplements that are supposed to make me burn fat, and I, have these workouts that are template workouts for everybody, but I can just follow them. They're not customized to me, but, it's a fraction of the cost. Like, you're trading the personalization and custom support and the support most people need for $4. And it might seem like a good trade-off in the beginning where it's like, I just need to be more disciplined myself. I know what I need to do. I just need to do it. But in the end, if you don't get the result that you want, does it really matter? Like if you know, quote unquote, what you need to do, but you just aren't doing it, which usually isn't the case, by the way. But if, let's say, you're really convinced, like you just need to buckle down and do it and have the discipline, and you know what you need to do and all this. So that's why you're convincing yourself to not spend as much money on having a coach or whatever. And you're convinced that's the case. Does that matter, like, if that's the reason you're not getting results, when at the end of the day, you're still not getting results? Like, whether or not you know what you need to do or you don't, like 6 months from now or a year from now, you're still going to be stuck in the same spot. Like, I've had some clients where, well, not really, but let's just say hypothetically, if I had a client who knew literally exactly what to do, how to do the priming phases, how to do the fat loss phases, how to do the maintenance phases, how to do all of this stuff. Like, she knew all the science behind it. But the only thing that was stopping her from getting the results was simply having a coach to check in with. And she convinced herself, well, it's not worth, investing in a coach because I know what I need to do. But a year goes from now, and she's in the same spot that she's in now because, she didn't have that one extra piece that she needed. But if she just would have invested in a coach, even if just the weekly accountability through a weekly check-in was all she needed, but by doing so, that was enough to a year later, now she's down 30 or 40 pounds. Was it worth it or not? And in my opinion, yeah, even if maybe you don't need all of the features that come with a coach, if doing so gets you to your end result, that would be worth it to me. We're willing to spend more money when it comes to like getting a good car so it doesn't break down, or getting a good quality TV or couch or furniture or bed or clothes even. We're willing to spend like higher dollar for some of those things because we want good quality. But when it comes to support through your weight loss journey, with your fat loss journey, with having a good coach, like, we try to pinch pennies everywhere. And that is one big reason why, so many people like just spin their wheels month after month or year after year, is because they're trying so hard to avoid spending, more money to invest in an actual qualified coach to help them do this, that they end up just spending like these small amounts of money, but they're doing it for like years and years and years. I literally was having a conversation with a one-on-one client this morning about this, where we were talking about just how so many people are falling into like the MLM stuff, these supplements that don't really do anything, all of these like fad diets, these like fad programs and all this stuff. And sure, like if you look at a coach that might be a few $100s a month versus these supplements where, oh, these are only $75 a month, sounds like a good bargain, right? But the difference is a coach might be a few $100s a month, but you're going to get way better results. I mean, these supplements truly don't do anything. Like, the people who see results taking these supplements, they do it because they end up somehow eating the right amount anyway by luck, or they're already tracking their food so they're eating the right amount. And, with the workout habits people end up implementing when they take the supplements. Like, the supplements aren't making anybody lose 20 pounds in 6 months. Like, the supplements just aren't. But you're going to see better results with the coach. And also, you're going to learn so much about yourself and about how your body reacts to food. You're going to learn so much about nutrition and food in general through a coach, where all of the information, all the knowledge, everything that you learn with that coach, even if you only work with them for a year, like, you're going to be able to take that knowledge with you the rest of your life. I have clients who I've worked with like a few years ago. And one in particular, she literally just messaged me this past weekend, and she lost about 50 pounds with us working together. And incredible story. I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to like give anything away, but she lost 50 pounds working together. And she ended up getting pregnant, which she struggled with fertility issues before we started working together. And it was like a miracle thing, you know, like given her age, given how often or how much they tried to conceive and all this kind of stuff. Like it was a miracle that she kind of accidentally got pregnant, and which was just amazing, an amazing story. And she texted me this weekend, and since having her child, she's down 60 pounds now. And she texted me, messaging me, thanking me for just everything that she's learned, because not only was she able to lose 50 pounds us working together, she was able to, one, have a miracle baby, and then number two, afterwards lose 60 pounds after that on her own, using the same principles and everything I've taught her. So these are skills she's going to be able to take with her the rest of her life, and skills she's going to be able to give to even her kids through the rest of her life. She might even be able to help, you know, a loved one who's struggling with their weight. So these are skills that like you're going to be able to take with you forever, right? Whereas if you're constantly investing in these quick fixes, these fad diets, these supplements that don't do anything, like you're spending, you know, let's say $100 a month on these supplements, all these cheap short programs that aren't personalized. And, you know, let's say 5 years go by and you don't see any progress. That's what 100 times 12 is $1,200 times 5, $6,000 you're spending in a 5-year span on these types of things with like virtually zero progress, if any. Nothing learned regarding nutrition, nothing learned with how your body reacts to nutrition, and nothing that you can take with you and like get in better shape later on your own, or even help somebody else, versus somebody who spends a few $100s a month on a coach. And let's say they work with this coach for a whole year and really soak it in, lose the weight they want to lose, see the progress they want, really take in the information and knowledge, and then they're able to take that with them the rest of their life. Now they've achieved their goal, and they are able to help others around them. They have all this knowledge to continue making progress, or if they do end up finding themselves, you know, gaining a little bit of weight over the holidays, like they know how to lose that weight back the right way. And they spent what, 300 times 12, $3,600 in a month, or not a month, in a year. So while, you know, $3,600 for a year sounds a lot more than $1,200 in 1 year's time, you know, with the cheap fad diet supplements, that investment lasts you so much longer. You actually get the results you want. And it's an investment you only have to make for, like, you make for a shorter period of time because you got the result you wanted quicker. And you actually got the result versus with these supplements, fad diets. You know, you spent years and years and years. Like, I've had clients who have signed up who have told me they've tried these different fad diets, Noom, Weight Watchers, all this stuff for 10 plus years. And like they've spent way more on that stuff in total versus the amount they've spent working with me in like a high touch personalized program, because they actually learned how to do it the right way and keep the results and, you know, have learned along the way. So don't pinch pennies when it comes to your health. If you do, like, it's going to bite you in the long run. You know, like you always hear these stories about like buying used stuff, and like sometimes you can buy some really great used you know, equipment or used cars or used furniture or whatever. But sometimes you hear horror stories about buying like a used car and every few months something breaks down and you have to put more money into it, or you buy used this or that and you're constantly having to put more money into it. And at the end of the day, like once you've had that thing for multiple years, you end up spending way more in total than what you would have if you just would have bought a brand new one. So like a little bit of an analogy there, but kind of hits and connects too. So hopefully these 5 reminders were helpful. Hopefully you're crushing it. If you're not, and you like want to take the shortcut route of getting a coach versus trying to do this on your own with all of this stuff, just send me a message and we can have a conversation, see if it's a good fit, you know, to work together and just kind of go from there. So appreciate you all. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you guys in the next one.